Hey, hi, welcome back to the series of cybersecurity sessions. I am Tota Krishna Hema, your cybersecurity expert. So, in this video, we are going to discuss about STRIDE. This is a method to identify threat. So, let us get into the details and furthermore video. So, this is called STRIDE. So, STRIDE abbreviation is S for spoofing, T for tampering, R for repudiation, I for information disclosure, D for denial of service, E for elevation of privilege. So why we are discussing only about STRIDE is an easiest way to identify the threats. STRIDE analysis is initially developed by Microsoft research and development team, and it is a guide word approach. So when you see this all abbreviation points, so those are the guide words which we use to identify the threat. So it came from its own guide words. The name STRIDE came from its guide words. So it's like for safety in HARA, that is hazard analysis and risk assessment. So hazard identification, we use the similar guide word approach called HAZOP. So like if you like to see HAZOP video, so that is in the uh, comments. And similarly for security, we have TARA, that is threat analysis and risk assessment. So in this we are using STRIDE as a guide word approach to identify threat scenarios. STRIDE helps to identify security things that may go wrong. This gives information like what can go wrong. So that's called a threat scenario. What can go wrong? So to know more about it, like how it can go wrong, is like we need to combine it with other strategies, other approaches like the attack trees. So in which like you will get to know like how the attack can happen. So it's like when you look at the STRIDE in detail, so the guide words of STRIDE came from the security attributes like authenticity, it's an opposite, that's called spoofing. Integrity, the opposite is tampering. Non-repudiation, the opposite is repudiation. Information disclosure, the opposite is confidentiality. Availability, is opposite is denial of service. And authorization, the opposite is elevation of privileges. So this is nothing but a compromise in security attributes. So here are the things like which I want to discuss is in detail, like spoofing. Spoofing is nothing but, if you see the spoofing videos in the internet, so pretending to be someone other than your own identity. So if I pretend myself as a so you might have received a calls like, I'm calling from so and so bank as a bank representative to hack your personal to get your personal details, personal account details, like sharing your PIN number, sharing your credit card number, or your personal identification numbers. So or I may call as like so and so, I'm calling from so and so minister office, like you have to come to that place, this place, or you need to disclose this information that you have committed something, but yeah, actually I'm not. Okay. And to be falsely claiming that as a professional, like I'm a doctor, or which is critical, like I'm a nuclear scientist, or is I'm an I know the satellite science, something like that, but not. So this is what, like, spoofing is pretending like someone else other than your own identity. The victims, these are the victim categories which we have mentioned here. That's For spoofing, the victim categories are the OEMs, that is entity which manufactures cars, and people like the users of cars, and processes, order of steps, like it's gonna deviate the order of steps. That means like one after the other should carry out, but because of the spoofing thing, like the hacker can hack your things, something like that. And the second category is tampering. Tampering is nothing but altering something in data or on storage location, like your hard disk, your server space, your network, in your memory. Like here we have seen the storage, data storage, like your memory unit, server space, disk space. So generally the example is like you have a word file. So and I have replaced all the e's with was. So there is a term called isolation. Isolation is also will get replaced with was. So isolation will be there. So something like that. If you replace a word in a word file is a easy example to understand. But wherein, like when you change or replace a file with another file with the same name, okay, or adding, deleting, changing a data which is already available in it, but you just wanna do it to get the access. So as a hacker, like yeah, we it's like tampering is a one of the methods of attacking. So then the victims are processes, data storage, and data flows. Coming to the category called repudiation. Repudiation is something like claiming that you did not perform an action or activity, or claiming that you are not responsible to do something. So this, I am not responsible for something, something like this. So it is for example, I didn't press on delete button, but somehow it got deleted. Okay, you might have heard this thing many times. Okay, I didn't alter this particular thing, but yeah, somehow my name is displaying there um, in this recent configuration management tool. But somehow, yeah, and I did not order that pizza. Okay, and I can say like I'm not responsible to review your particular design, but somehow see, generally repudiation comes into picture when something happened without your consent. For example, okay, as a hacker, I will take out the required information, required assert, means like I'll harm the assert, and I will say like I did not do it. So something like this. The victims are process. Then information disclosure. Information disclosure, someone who has not authorized to access particular information, but still they can access that. Example is like accessing your personal information, or you have logged it in your own okay, I'm accessing your mobile phone and getting your information from there, or accessing your personal details in your organization, like your employment details or your salary details inside your organization, your personal photos or medias which is stored in your drive in your own car, okay, or your project's code or your unit level design, so which I have hacked and I have placed it in a freeware, something like that, as a freeware in the internet. So this is something, an example for the information disclosure. The victims are data storage, data flows, processes. Denial of service. Denial of service is something like make the service resources busy to provide service. For example, a fake network traffic, that means a fake a sudden surge in traffic, network traffic will slow down, or sometimes it will hinder the real traffic. A file that is tricked, that it is filled all the memory which is available in your disk, or a code that tricked, that is consumed all the allocated memory. So the victims are data storage, data flows, processes. Generally this happens in case of network, or network trafficking or traffics, or sometimes like storage, in the storage space as well. So elevation of privilege is the next category. So allowing someone to perform unauthorized action. For example, you are an admin of tool, and you provided all the users with the admin access. That's something like yeah, which happens sometimes. So you are not allocated to allow into the server room, or your ahu room, or your hub room, but somehow you manage to get into it. So that's a normal example. It's a physical example. uh, yeah, then that's how the victims are processes. So here is the Tara workflow. So if you see here, the item definition will come in the clause number 9.3. Your asset identification is in 15.3, and through asset identification, so we will identify the assets, we will identify the damage scenarios, and through by giving the input, so we will identify the threat scenario identification. So this is the place like where we will use our stride as an example. So in item definition, so we will get to know our scope of work, or our scope of system which is under development, or which is our scope to, or a target to evaluate the cybersecurity. The next is like asset identification. In that, like we are going to identify the security properties, and and the damage scenario talks about possible consequences of a compromised security property. So when you see this our topic, threat scenario identification is nothing but identification of scenarios that might lead to compromised security properties of an asset. So why stride? Stride is an easiest thing like which we can do, which we can it's a light method, but wherein like you have a common method which is CIA. So that also you can use as threat scenario identification method, but this is the more feasible method. Here is an example of stride. So in this diagram you are going to see the vehicle connectivity in a high level view. So you have cloud server connectivity and internet connectivity, which is going through the connectivity gateway, and which is in turn connected to the central gateway, and from central gateway it is connected to the CAN bus in vehicle. So if you see the cloud server, so what cloud server offers is the OTA software, that means over the air software updates, also your maintenance, or the service providers in service you can get from that. Also like the sensors are connected in order to get the onboard diagnostic information to get sync in with cloud. So your telematics information will be there, and you have internet connectivity. How do you get internet connectivity for your car? Is through your mobile network. It's 2G, 3G, 4G, 5G, whatever it is, and your Bluetooth connectivity to for the media swap, and your emails you can get access to. You can talk to the other person over the call by connecting it to the through Bluetooth. It is enabled. You can look or you can listen to the infotainment, or you can have the access to the navigation. You can have the weather predictions. uh, all these things will be available as part of your internet connectivity. So how internet connectivity and cloud service, so both they are connected to the vehicle by two different gateways. One is connectivity gateway. These gateways will try to safeguard or which offers protection from the malicious hackers. So like which has to pass through two different gateways. So and then this is a security mechanism, we can say, and which is interconnected to the canvas in vehicle. So here you can see there are multiple ECUs which are connected like a spider web, but I just gave two ECUs as an example, like ECU1, ECU2, and in ECU2, like your scope of work, your scope of cybersecurity asset will be, or your product will be get into that particular ECU. So there we have mentioned as our cybersecurity asset, so which is getting installed in ECU2. So let me give an example of spoofing of CAN message. So how can it happen is, how can I pretend that I can spoof a CAN message is by sending a malicious CAN message through the gateway. Then how can I send it is like by two ways. We have internet connectivity and we have cloud server also. So through this, any of these two things, like we can spoof a CAN message. So how it is like, by internet connectivity. If I take an example, so by using Bluetooth or by using fake navigation or GPS system or any other source, like I can use this particular internet connectivity to hack the particular vehicle, and that to our particular asset. So with this, this is an example. Apart of sending malicious messages to CAN bus or your vehicle network by spoofing, so we have some other examples are mentioned here, that is sending or modifying the firmware in infotainment ECU by tampering, take control of system ECU operations, or access data by installation of Trojan horses or rootkit installations. So these are some of the examples. Till now we have discussed about the stride, what is good in stride, how easy it is, what to do, something like that. So we are going to discuss about cons of stride or the disadvantages of stride method. So participation of resources in this particular stride needs a high degree of competence. That means it needs expert team in the in stride method. So we need to use it as a combination, because we will only get to know what the threat will be, but how it happens we need to combine it with the other methods like attack trees to know how. So repetition of threats, it's like, we will have the same threat again and again, because of multiple stride classes. So threat classification is difficult, and we may not uh, use the like stride method may not be very perfect method for the identification of new vulnerabilities due to new requirements which are added in the middle of the development. So with this, I came to the end of the topic. Like, if you like the video, please click on the like button. If you want further more automotive videos, subscribe to my channel. Thank you so much for your time.